Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mellowcast, the official podcast for the Twitch team, the Mellow Fellows. And today with me, the PSX Slayer himself, Reloader.
What's going on?
How you doing? What's going on?
Not too bad. Just dying in the summer heat.
What else is new, right? What else is new? It's hot everywhere. It's almost August, which is literally the hottest month in America at the time. Most times of the year, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, man. I usually like the heat comes in August, and this year decided to pull a switcheroony and be like, it's gonna come in at the end of June.
Yeah. Like I started seeing triple digits towards the end of June, going into July. I'm like, what? That's not supposed to happen till like August, right? Like it's supposed to be a comfortable warm around July, right? And then August is like, all right, you're just gonna die.
I saw 95 on like June 28th. I was like, let me bring up Weather Channel. That can't be right. I got the wrong address.
The weather app is like, are you in the equator? No? Well, you are now.
We're getting a reading from the surface of the sun.
Is that right? Are we? Oh, so we're on the surface now. Oh, when did that happen? Just trying to figure out your life and your situation, you know? Maybe they shipped us all there and we didn't even realize it. Who knows? But
we have a reading that local barometers are melting. Is this correct?
Yes. Oh. So how do I not do that anymore? Questions need answer. Need a scientist. Oh man. So, Loader, tell me about your conquest here, right? So you're named the PSX Slayer, right? But what does that actually mean?
So initially, when I started streaming, I had no, I guess, kind of vision for what I was going to do. I actually started on Facebook gaming. I played like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, and I didn't know anything about streaming. I got tired of Facebook, and I was like, I'll give Twitch a try. And I visited a lot of streams, try to meet people and everything. And the first person I really became friends with on Twitch was Sharpie, the Sega Crusader. And during this time, I was still just playing random stuff, and he ended up stopping by one time with the streamer currently known as Farty, and they made the joke that you should challenge the PS1 library. And I kind of laughed about it, and then like over the course of maybe 2 hours and a beer, I was like, well, might as well. Gives me purpose.
It's always that one beer you're like, half beer and you're like, maybe, and then you're done with the beer, like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it. Oh man, that's actually kind of cool. How you were friends with Sharpie previous to your conquest, and he was actually doing his Sega, was it Sega Genesis or is it Sega Saturn? Right? No, Sega Genesis, right? I do believe.
Yeah, he's doing the Genesis, the Sega CD, the 32X, and the Power Base Converter games.
Oh boy, he's got, man. How far was he when you actually met him? Like, how deep was he into that?
See, that's the interesting thing, because like I didn't like when I met him, I was just going through retro, and like I'm looking at this sea of all these people like playing like everyone's playing a Castlevania game, everyone's playing Metroid, and I see this one guy playing Eternal Champions. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go see this dude playing Eternal Champions, and he was like 738 games deep on that.
Wow. Out of like what? Just over 1,000 games, something like that.
Yeah,
man. So how long have you actually been streaming then?
I started. My first stream was in like October 2018.
Okay, okay. And then was that on Facebook or was that on Twitch?
That was on Facebook, and then I made the transition over to Twitch in like I believe November 2018, and I started the PSX Slayer challenge December 11th, 2018. The first game was Assault Rigs that was picked by me.
So why that specific game?
That game has a nostalgic factor with me. That was a game I used to rent. I used to play with my brother all the time. And I remember there was one Christmas that we rented this game, and my grandma decided that for the best presents for us would be pads of note paper. And we used every single piece of note paper to write down these passwords for that game because it didn't support the memory card.
Oh boy.
And ever since then we've never been able to beat that game, and I've played it numerous times since then, and I've never actually just sat down and was like, I need to beat this game. So I figured that was a worthy first challenger to be like, this is the game, it has to go down.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's what the PSX Slayer is supposed to do, right? You're supposed to victimize these games, correct?
That's the games I like. I mean, a lot of people want to see like the high budget games, like Parasite Eve and stuff like that. And then I like those games, but I feel more rewarded when I beat those like, what the hell is Toka Championship Racing?
I've never heard of that.
That's one of the worst racing games I've ever played in my life.
Dude, tell me more about that, please.
Toka Championship Racing is like, take Gran Turismo and everything good about it, subtract the controls, and subtract the rubber banding from the AI. So you're basically sliding all over a course while your other 12 competitors that you're up against are on a perfect rail, and they don't have to worry about anything stability wise with their steering, and you have to master the course. And if you mess up at any point, they're just going to pass you and you're never going to catch up to them.
Oh, so it was a real challenge then.
That's currently the longest game I've had to play, and it was like 80 hours.
Jesus, that's for a racing game?
Yeah, that's supposed to be easy.
So how do you define if a game's been victimized, right? Like there are a lot of puzzle games out there. There's a lot of like random games that we've never heard of, right? Some of them might not seem like they have an end to it, but how do you consider a game victimized in your opinion?
I justify games with like that aren't story based. Like, like when you get to the end of an RPG, you're going to get credits, you're going to get some sort of fulfilling cutscene. When you're playing like an action adventure game like Metal Gear Solid, you're going to have that defined end. Those puzzle games and stuff like racing games and sports games. When it comes to like a sports game, I like to just take playoffs. Playoffs, you're going to be playing against the hardest AI that the game has to offer. So therefore, you're playing the game at its peak difficulty. So if you can beat that, even if you don't get credits, that's a good game. You've beat it. Those puzzle games, it depends on the type of game. Like if the game were to loop at any point where it never doesn't really end, it just takes you back to stage one. There's two ways to view that you can either take high score and that's game over, or you take where the game loops. There's no score base and you're seeing the same stages over and over again. Once you've seen all the stages, you beat the game.
That's fair. I can see that because I know there are a lot of puzzle games out there that just continuously loop and they just don't stop. And you're like, all right, I guess I've seen it all, So that's actually a good, I guess justification for beating a puzzle game, and definitely like RPGs, they have an end game as well as certain platformers and certain action games. So that's actually good reference point for victimizing a game in your case. So you're going through the entire PSX library, correct?
Just the North American.
Okay, that's good because I figured you'd throw in some Japanese in there. You're like, what if you don't read or speak Japanese or hiragana or anything? Like, how would that work out? That would have been interesting.
Everyone always asks me about if I'm ever going to do like the Japanese RPGs and stuff, and it's like, I mean, maybe, but I mean, it depends if I can read it. And I know that the big majority of games that didn't make it to America were RPGs, and it's like the only way I'm going to be able to beat this is if I'm sitting here with my phone the whole time with Google Translate, trying to hope it's going to pick up on the text.
I've actually tried that one time. It works until it doesn't. So I feel like it's in beta, but it actually translates a lot of the text in those games, especially if you keep it in front of you. But it's hard to keep a phone in front of you, looking at it, and then trying to play the game at the same time and control it. It's just, there's got to be a system for that, you know? But yeah, like, how long do you think it would take to go through that entire PSX library? Do you think it'll take you 10,000 hours like like Sharpie is right now? He's almost done with his Sega Conquest actually, but do you think it's gonna take more than that? Maybe less?
So I've done some crude math.
Oh boy, here we go.
So, all right, I haven't played any fighting games yet, which is hilarious because I love fighting games. People don't like letting me play things I like. Um, so, generally for me to beat a fighting game takes about 30 minutes. With one character, get an ending, you're good. There's 125 fighting games, so that's like 60 hours right there. Then with the sports games, those are about anywhere between 3 to 5 hours if you're going to do playoffs. For major titles like the EA stuff, which is like 330 of the games. So that's roughly the majority of the challenge right there. Half of it's going, like a good quarter is sports and fighting games. And that's probably 2,000 hours right there. Where the problem is that the other third of the games are RPGs. And that's probably going to be about 5 to 7,000 hours, and that's where the majority of the library is fighting, racing, or not racing, fighting, sports, and RPGs.
Oh man, that's gonna take you quite a bit. And what? All right, so what number are you on currently, and then how many in total do you have to go through?
I'm currently on number 44 out of 1,410.
See, that's easy. You're already halfway there, right?
Totally.
I mean, dude, it sounds like, oh man, he just started, but you've been at it for quite a bit. And I mean, I know you took a break from streaming because you have to take care of work and all that. But even with the break, it's still been a long time, don't you think?
Yeah, I just hit the milestone for 1,000 hours of streaming.
Nice, congrats. That's a big feat right there. I'll tell you that. But so so like you say you like fighting games, right? Have you actually played? Oh, I'm gonna say you're gonna actually play all the fighting games, but have you played majority of those fighting games on the list there, or do you have like a very select few that you played and you're like, all right, I like these over the others?
It's kind of a 50-50 split. I really enjoy the 2D fighting games. I've played the majority of those that the console has to offer. Some of the 3D games that I'm looking at, though, it's like I've never played this, and this looks like hot garbage, and this could actually like kill me.
That's gonna be fun. Have you I forgot what was that game? Bloody Roar. Yeah, have you ever played Bloody Roar before?
I like those games. It's been a really long time since I played them though.
Oh man, I used to play Bloody Roar. I'm not into fighting games, right? But growing up, I had majority of my games were fighting games, and I hate fighting games with a passion. You know, because you get so far and so into it, and then you get to like the last two or three bosses, and you're like, yeah, I beat them, and then you have like half health, and then they kind of just one shot you, and that's kind of when the rage comes in. And you know, as a very young and stupid boy, I would rage at, you know, Heihachi in Tekken 2 and 3. Um, and I could never beat him until I did. And once I did, I stopped playing fighting games for a long time.
Hachi is an evil, evil, evil man.
Yeah, yes, he is. He is so old, but yeah, he is so fast and so strong. And ugh. And then ogre comes in, and you're just like, why are these things happening? And but I love Tekken. Tekken was my jam back in the day.
Heihachi's double standing roundhouse kick to the heel slam, like cancel. That's one of the most basic, brutal combos in any game. And if you're not ready for that when coming up into any fighting game, like that's a move that will destroy you. And the AI loves that basic setup.
Yeah, and he always caught me with that. And I as a kid, you don't know what to do. You button mash for the most part. And at least I did. I didn't really use too many combos. So my mains were Law, Eddie, and Paul. Right? With Law, I would just do the double back dragon flip. You know, the floop floop. He would like you know, kind of the ha ha every time, and it was always hilarious. But I loved it, and that was my version of the low kick. You know, the low kick, low kick, low kick, low kick. But with Eddie, I just pressed buttons and he would spin in circles and did things, and it was kind of cool, and that's why I loved Eddie. And he's really a pub stomper. He's a I guess for the noobs like me. But once I got into Tekken, I started playing more Jin and you know, like the other characters, and started, you know, understanding their moves. But Heihachi, man, I just could still gives me nightmares to this day, man. So, man, so tell me about. So I remember we had a conversation. Was it? I think it was Thursday was when I messaged you, I believe, last week, to see if you
Yes.
wanted. Yeah, it was like Thursday, right? So I remember you had mentioned you were doing like a whole bunch of reviews and whatnot in regards to wrestling, correct?
Yeah, I used to have a blog back in the day called The Vault. I had it when I first started streaming, and it got hacked. I don't know what happened to it. I probably didn't even get hacked. I probably just did something stupid. So I abandoned that, and I created a new blog for. The initial idea was to have a wrestling podcast and with a few other people, and we were going to do all this stuff. But I kind of interjected it into the stream. It's called The Negative Press, and I figured since I'm playing all these games that suck, what better name would be to call it The Negative Press, because I'm just going to make fun of all these games on here. So it kind of expanded it into being a video game review site and a wrestling review site. Sometimes I put like music up there and movie reviews and stuff too.
Nice, nice. So, what motivated you to start doing reviews for, you know, the wrestling and games? Is it just to get your thoughts out there? Was there an intention out there, or you know, was it because of you drank a beer? We're like, I'm ready.
It spawns from two schools of thought. Where have you ever played something or watched something that you've been recommended for through all of the internet from all these monetized sites, and then it's like you watch it or you play it and it's just terrible, and you're like, I know that was a bot review. See, like my idea with this is to just be like, I'm not paid. I don't have any ulterior motive. I can give you my real opinion.
So you want the people to know that this is not sponsored by anybody. This is your hardcore, raw review of wrestling and games and music and just life in general, right?
Yes.
Well, that's good. All right, so definitely keep doing that because there's not a lot out there, right? There's not a lot of genuine reviews that really showcase games, movies, wrestling as well, because everybody has a bias, right? You don't really have an attachment to a lot of these games, and I would say wrestling as well, but and that's kind of what we need, especially in times like now, for example, right? Everything is being bought, everything is being advertised, everything is just hyped, and then once you see it or play, you're like, that was horrible. Why did it say it was the best game of the year when it barely made it out of beta, you know?
Street Fighter 5.
Oh my goodness. We don't talk about that, all right? I actually have it now on the PC, and I'm sitting here like, do I want it? Could I just give it away? Do you want Street Fighter 5 for the PC?
I on PC and PS4. I hate that game, but I went through a phase in my life where I couldn't stop playing it.
Oh man. Oh man. I at one point I played it and then I just jumped back to Mortal Kombat because I'm big on Mortal Kombat. And I gave up Mortal Kombat for a little bit just so I can play some Street Fighter 5, and I couldn't stand it, man. Like something was off with the hitboxes. I felt like there was a delay in everything. It just felt like much more sluggish than the other games, and I just couldn't deal with it.
Oh, you didn't feel like there was a delay in everything. That game has a native, like, I think it came out with like an 11 frame input lag inherently in the game to compensate to teach you how to play it online. And then they moved it down to like 6 frames or something like that.
Yeah, it was so bad. It was so bad, and I internally cried because I thought it was gonna be good, but I think it was because of the engine they were using, wasn't it? Was that the case?
I honestly don't even know what engine it was. I just hope they never use it again.
I think I want to say it was Unreal Engine that they used for Street Fighter, but I cannot confirm that. But I remember they were talking about it was the engine that was causing this issue, this lag issue, and I'm just like, don't use it then. Go back to what you were using, or use like something else, you know. And yeah, no, like I just couldn't play it no more. It was unplayable for me, at least.
You mentioned Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 11 is actually really, really good, though.
Yes. Oh my goodness, so good. I'm big. I'm a big Smoke fan, and we all know what happened. So, um, yeah. hopefully, hopefully, just one day it'll happen. But so what do you normally play now off besides the PS1 Conquest, right? What do you play outside of that?
I got really big into the Final Fantasy VII remake because I wanted a remake of that game for about what now 23 years, and
Same.
I really liked that game, but it left me with a lot of things that I was kind of sour on. I don't know. That's a hard game to talk about for me, but that's what that's what I spend a
boy.
lot of time playing.
It's so good. All right, so as a hardcore Final Fantasy fan, right? I love all my Final Fantasies, love them to death. I rate 7, 15, and 10 as like number one. They're all in the number one spot. I can't distinguish which one is better than the other because they all are just that good to me. And then you have like 8 and number 2, and then you have all the others coming in, right? 7 remake, I think, is amazing because you get to see a lot more that actually happens that the original sped up through, right? You don't get to see the actual people, you know, and what they're going through and how they're feeling, and you get to see their reactions and actually get to talk to them and hear them talk and conversate and all that. In the original, you don't really see that, and it's like, yeah, Midgar was this really big place, but you just didn't feel that. You know, like, you knew it was big, right? You know, the CGI made it super huge, but you didn't get to feel it. And I felt like the remake actually captured that the initial feeling that we felt of Midgar, you know, because Midgar was huge. I mean, it was literally the entire first episode of the remake. So, I mean, so what's your opinion on the game itself? Like, I want the good, I want the bad, I want the ugly. Tell me about it.
I really like the story. I like the flow of how everything worked and how I actually really like the voice actors too. I'm gonna forget to
Yes.
say that, so I had to throw that in there. I was really worried that they were going to like give a really bad voice to Cloud, and I was just like, if they ruin Cloud's voice, I'm not going to be able to play this game. Um, I like the surprise, how it like the ending. I kind of thought was a surprise. I like how they did that a little early on, having the initial, you know, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played it. I liked the fighting, like I liked the combat system and everything like that, but there were two things that really bugged me with the game. And for something I've waited 23 years for to play, for them to have skipped out on two gigantic 3D models kind of bugs me. But you notice that when you get off the train and you're staring at the core of Midgar, that's actually a drawing of the core and everything else is 3D models.
Yes.
That bugged me.
Yes.
And the other time that bugged me is when you're above Sector 7 and you're looking down, and that's another drawing.
Yeah, I mean, but they're amazingly drawn, though. I mean, all right, so I don't know if you heard of, you know, the speed run for Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? They do this glitch where it's kind of like an out of bounds glitch almost, but it's a cutscene skip glitch where you can literally skip a lot of cutscenes and move on to other chapters and all that. So if you use that particular glitch in certain areas you're not supposed to be in, you can actually get out of bounds, and it kind of ruins that magic, that feel of, oh, this is drawn compared to it's not drawn, and you can actually walk up to it and it's 2D, but looks so good from afar, you know. It's a feels bad moment when you when you realize that the magic is all gone. Because I played the first time, the very first, like, you know, when the first bomb happens and you're walking through the, you know, the rubbish and all that on the rooftops and all that. I was looking at like the smoke and all that. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. It looks so good. The only thing that was real was the smoke. The background was just drawn. I'm like, you cry internally.
Where the game really redeemed itself, though, for me, for all the things that I was like, well, this is a little drawn out and this, you know, graphical issue, blah, blah, blah. When you hit the climax, though, of that game, you forget all that. And the game just is like, whoa, whoa. Like, I'm playing Final Fantasy VII finally.
For real. It smacks you in the face, and I think it's really well made. It's really well told too, especially with some of the newer changes, right? The additions to the story. It still feels like the same original story and game, just with little knickknacks here and there, you know. But like, I don't know. Just the fighting, the battle system is fresh. It's not as like encounter heavy as I thought it was gonna be, you know, and Yeah, I mean, I think it's really well made, especially with the, the final, couple of chapters, with the extra changes and the additions added in, and then the smack in the face at the end. You're like, huh, I'm excited.
I was really, really impressed with how they did the encounters, because the one thing that even bugged me playing it on PlayStation back in the day, like I know graphically and like RAM wise they would never been able to do it, but like it's just weird in a game that is so fleshed out that you have a random encounter that you can't see, that you don't know you're walking into an enemy battle, where like when you're coming into an encounter in that game. And I thought that was a really cool way to do it. Instead of having like, oh, a random battle just showed up and these monsters just appeared, like like you can see them off in the distance. And I thought that was a really cool touch.
I agree. It kind of did that kind of like Dragon Quest feel that you can see who you're fighting before you fight, and it helps you kind of like prepare, for for bosses or for just anything in general. Where you're like, all right, I need to heal, I need to do this. All right, let's go ahead and prep. And I play that game for hours on hard mode and easy and classic and normal. I played it all because a game like that, you have to experience everything. And if you don't, you're kind of selling yourself short, because they worked on that game for so long to give us a lot of content, and I feel like they delivered. What say you?
Spoiler alert for anyone who's never played the original. I believe that they're going to change who dies in the game, because I thought it was really strange how um, Sephiroth stabs Barrett,
Yes.
and I was like, so they're already hinting that he's like going to do something different, and I honestly think they're going to kill Tifa instead of Aerith.
And that's what I've been saying since I started playing the game. I was like, this feels a bit different because they focused a lot more on Aerith, I feel like, in this game than Tifa, you know? And I kind of like that they did that, because, we in the original, we get Aerith for so long, right? But we don't really get to experience who she really is, right? And then she's just gone. They take her away from us. And I feel like they're diving a bit more into Aerith, and like I feel, this is my theory, I feel like Cloud is gonna end up being like Sephiroth's minion, and then we get to play as Zack for like this 2 and 3. Like instead of the one winged angel, we will actually have a 2-winged angel.
Yeah, I do think Zack is going to have a full-bodied like reincarnation or something somehow. Like they really emphasize that cutscene at the end of the game.
Oh, of course, of course. Like time, not time travel, but like the two different parallel timelines are a thing now. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Cloud was still unconscious, but he was still alive, but he doesn't have the Buster Sword anymore. So how is that going to affect the current timeline that we're currently watching, and then the previous? Is Zack going to take over Cloud? Is like, how come Sephiroth didn't kill Cloud? In the 7 seconds of like that rock of time, basically. at the end. It's like you have 7 seconds and you're like, wait, what? What's going on? And then Sephiroth just leaves. And there's so many questions, and I love that they keep you wanting more, and then they keep you asking more questions, you know?
There was one thing, though, that really irked me at the end of that game.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right.
Let it rip.
She even says, I have this materia and I don't know how to use it. How did she make a portal with it?
Listen, man.
Aerith used Holy. That's how she counteracted the evil portal that Sephiroth made at the end.
Yeah. So I do believe that the Aerith that we have now, right? The one that, I don't know if you had that cutscene where Cloud talks to Aerith, the imaginary Aerith, I guess. She knows what's going to happen. It's almost as if she is from the future, if that makes sense. And it's kind of mind-boggling that she tells him not to fall in love, even though he knows that he's going to fall in love with her. But it's like, Zach's around, right? Big Daddy Zach is around, and he was my boyfriend. So yeah, don't fall in love with me. But I feel like the Aerith that we have now is actually from the future. And she knows what's going to happen. And like they teased us with the whole, Aerith dying scene. One of the cutscenes as you fight the harbingers, and they really teased us with that. But that's if they failed, as Red 13 says. If we fail here today, that's what happens tomorrow. And you're just like, we didn't fail, so what's gonna happen tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that game, how the next part is going to continue from there. And I just really hope they skip Calm. I think we've had enough backstory.
I feel like Calm will be one of the biggest things in the game, because what if we get to play a Sephiroth? Like actual Sephiroth, where we run around as Sephiroth and we get to hear his thoughts and see how strong he actually was when he was alive, right? And do things in the hometown, right, before everything happened. What if we get to slay people and burn the village down or whatever? Like, there's a lot you can do with that flashback, and I feel like that's how the first or the next episode is going to start off, right? But at the same time, it shouldn't take too long, but it's still very significant too.
Well, when you say it that way, now I want to play it.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about that. It's like, yeah, we can play. We played as Aerith, we played as Tifa, we played as Barret, and it's like, oh, we can also play as Sephiroth now, if you think about it, or you can play as a Zack maybe, or there's so much that they can do and give us that I hope that they kind of dig into that. I want as little games as possible, right? But there is the DLC option, but then again, it's like, it's still part of the game. It's not like additional content. So I don't know how they're going to try to market it, but it's a possibility we get to play a Sephiroth in this too.
This is $1 million question, though. How do you think they're going to handle Knights of the Round?
I feel like, so have you ever played Final Fantasy 15? I don't think you played Final Fantasy 15. Have you, Loader?
She platinum that game.
Me too. Love that game. Amazing. So I feel like they're kind of gonna do it like that in a way. How they have like all the knights, literally the Knights of the Round, towards the end of that Final Fantasy 15 story, and that's gonna be the thing. Like, it's not gonna be a summon materia, but it'll be like one of those special summons, I guess, that randomly happens, like Odin almost. You know how Odin comes in randomly, you're like, why? This is a chocobo. Don't kill the chocobo. And he just one-shots and you're like, oh, great. Been trying to farm that chocobo for 2 hours now and you killed it. Thanks, Odin. Happened to me one time. Good times. Yeah, I think that's how they'll handle it. What about you?
I don't think this is the way they're going to do it, but I've always wanted a summon in Final Fantasy that would be like Knights of the Round or something of the like, or like the Wise Men or something, where you would cast it and it would be one hit from every main character from every other Final Fantasy. And it'd be cool if they did that with Knights of the Round, where like Squall shows up and gets a gunblade hit in, and Titus comes in. It'd just be cool to see that.
Oh, now that you think about it, that does sound kind of cool. Like, that would be awesome. But that would be kind of hard to do, because then how would they actually implement that? Like all the other, characters in 7. I mean, it would be cool, though. Would be cool. Like, oh, this is a Knights of the Round, and you're like, oh, this is Titus. With the Brotherhood, for example, But man, I'm just excited about that game. I love the game. I love where it's going. A lot of people are purists and they don't like change, but I love change. I love adapting to change, and I love how the stories evolve with certain games. For example,
I like change when it's enjoyable, and I liked the change in Final Fantasy VII.
Thank you. Somebody who appreciates it. There's a lot of people out there like, I kind of like the original. I'm like, yeah, because you've played the original like 100 times, so you know the story, and you think the story's going to go one way in the remake, and it doesn't, and then it throws you off,
It's just like the Resident Evil 2 remake. When I walked into the police station, I saw that there was a full staircase that took me up to the second floor right in the lobby. I was smiling ear to ear like, I don't have to do all this crap.
Hey, it's a remake. It's quality of life changes right there. But I mean, that's kind of cool that you're into a lot of these Final Fantasy games. That you can actually have a conversation, and you kind of know your stuff. A lot of people out there play Final Fantasy, right? But they don't really know Final Fantasy, right? And it's hard to have conversation with somebody who really doesn't know, but just assumes, and like I said, purists as well, who play the game 100,000 hours and still don't really know the story or anything about the game. But
the original Final Fantasy VII is like one of my favorite stories ever told in a game, and like when you figure out how to break that game in power level, like AP at the end in the crater, like. And you have all of the spells, and you can go back and fight the Emerald weapon, fight the Ruby weapon. Like that's just amazing. Like that's how you do backtracking and do secrets in the PlayStation era.
Yeah, they did it right. Like Square does a lot of things right, and that was one of them for sure. Like handling secrets, I think is Square's forte, we'll say. So outside of Final Fantasy, what's your favorite, I guess, genre of game outside of fighting and Final Fantasy, right? What's your favorite genre? Do you like the platformers? Do you like the puzzle games? I know you like puzzle games, right?
As much as I've always loved platformers, I am awful at platformers. Like, I don't care how cute the character is or anything. It's just like I'm just bad at them. And and honestly, like my favorite game series of all time is Metal Gear Solid.
Oh boy, so good. All right, out of all the Metal Gear games, what's your favorite, and why is it 2?
2. The reason that 2 is such a phenomenal game is because that game can be interpreted any way you want to interpret that game. And people are always like, no, it's got plot holes and it's convoluted. It's like, yeah, but it was made that way to make you interpret it your own way. They don't ham fist you a what's going on. And the way I've always interpreted Metal Gear Solid 2, it's why that game is amazing, is because there's a part where Solid Snake tells Raiden that, you know, he was like the creation of VR training and that he was born to be a killer. And the way I've always interpreted that is that you are Raiden. You, the player, you is him. You were trained by Metal Gear Solid 1 to be just as good as Solid Snake. So anyone has been conditioned to be able to endure that type of scenario from playing these games. And it kind of feels like that feeds into the whole entire, like, algorithms are taking over everything and they can mold you into anything they want to, kind of like weird conspiracy takeover stuff.
Yeah, dude, there's so many theories with that game, and just really, if you really sit down and think about it, it's just so much to really digest. And it's such a great story. Like, forget about the gameplay and everything. It's just a story itself. It's a huge, you know, like, mind fuck in a way, right? Where you're just like, okay, you think you know what you're doing, and then it kind of just slaps you in the face with the controller, with the console, all at the same time. You're like, what happened? And you have to really sit down and try to digest it all, and you have to play that game multiple times to be able to do that, you know. And it's one of my favorite games, actually. I think 2 is. I knew you enjoyed 2, but a lot of people enjoy 3 for some reason, and I don't know why. But
see, 3's cool in the other aspect that it has excellent gameplay, but the story is just kind of like weird. Like it's meh. It's not really weird. I used the wrong term there.
Right.
What I liked about 3's story is that, like, if you really pay attention to the boss fights, you can see where they programmed the nano machines after. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, you know, like I'm like the end.
Yes.
You know, like his nanomachines are what programs Sniper Wolf to be able to endure the winter and be able to sit there forever and not move. Like stuff like that's like really cool.
Yep. Oh man, I just like how they connect everything. You know, and you're like, why am I playing Solid Snake when in the third one, in the second one, in the first one things happen, and then I thought he died, and you're trying to like figure out the timeline of everything. You know, and that's what I love about Metal Gear as well, is that it keeps throwing you around. You know, you gotta it kicks you off your feet, and then you gotta get back up, and you don't know where you're at, kind of thing. But I truly enjoy Metal Gear. It's so good. Anything after 4 is not really Metal Gear in my opinion, but it's something, I guess.
I really like the gameplay of Phantom Pain, but it didn't feel like a Metal Gear.
Yeah, it felt more like just a third-person shooter that you just did a whole bunch of quests and we're like, all right, cool. Not a lot of Metal Gear-ness going on there. But I feel like that's what's going on with games nowadays, is they kind of have to adapt and change to like the newer generation, you know?
I feel like I'm too old to adapt to the new changes.
There's so many changes in games nowadays. It's just hard to keep up. You're like, too tired. Let me just play my retro stuff. And you're like, retro for me is PS1. And you're like, no, it's not. I mean, it's retro, but all right. So where do you draw the line in retro gaming, right? As we age.
I believe. So this is what I like about retro. And unlike every other category of gaming, retro over the years gets bigger. And I think I draw the line at like the end of the PS2 era right now. And once we get like halfway into PS5, that's when like the games like Dead Space are going to become retro, which is that makes me feel really old saying that.
Oh boy. That's fair. Because I've had a couple arguments with some people that are like, no, retro it's up to like SNES, and you know that's complete retro, and anything after is still new. I'm like, there's no component, inputs on most of these TVs nowadays, right? Like you can't just put a red, white, and yellow in a HD TV. You have to have a compo like an adapter for it. And if you have to put an adapter to be able to play on the TV, I think that's considered retro. I mean, that's just me though.
That's what I agree with. I agree that once something on a console is outdated, starts becoming retro. And the reason I'm going to say that with the PS3 is going to be retro is all those servers are going to be dead, and a lot of those trophies aren't going to be attainable anymore. So you have to find a way to enjoy that. And when you have to start looking for an extracurricular way to enjoy something that was originally first party branded, that's when something's retro.
I agree. I agree. Like one thing I didn't like about the PS3 were the online trophies, right? Because I feel trophies are supposed to be kind of controlled, right? Yeah, there's some RNG involved, but I feel online you're not really in control. There's no like stability to it, and that's just my opinion on online trophies.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. It annoys me that I really wanted to play MotorStorm Apocalypse for the longest time, and I took forever to play that game. And half the trophies are required to be like, well, you got to compete in 500 races. It's like I can't even find 500 people playing this game.
That's fair. It's a gray area, even games now like on PS4 right now just have online trophies. You're like, but why? Unless they're sports, fighting games makes kind of sense, but at the same time, don't force me to play online. Like, give me a platinum trophy based on the actual game itself, right? And then you can have some side trophies for online, just to say that you've accomplished something online, right? But don't make it a priority for platinum.
Yeah, it would be cool if they future planned that when they were coming up with this idea. Like, our PS3 server is going to be up forever. Like, no, they're not.
Yeah. They think that their console is going to be around, and things change, and here we are coming out with PS5. Gosh, I remember when the PS3 came out. It was the next big thing, and then yeah.
I remember collecting pop bottles, like tons and tons of pop bottles forever, so I'd have enough money to buy a PS3. And it was really funny because I remember buying the PS3 and then sitting there like, what game am I even going to play? I don't even know what games this thing has. I just wanted a PS3 because eventually Metal Gear Solid 4 is going to be on here. And I remember the first game I got for PS3 was actually Mortal Kombat 2 Online.
Oh boy. That's a title I haven't heard in a while.
Talk about some bad netcodes.
Dude. Yes. God, so many games that I used to play heavily on the PS3 that I'm just like, I don't even remember any of their names anymore. That's how long it's been since I've actually touched the PS3. I guess.
There was one game on the PS3 that I loved that like no one ever talks about. I forgot who made it, but it was called The Club. And it was like you pick a dude and you just go through like a gauntlet of killing NPCs, and you get an ending video. It's like 12 different guys, and they all have like a different story as to why they're in this like gauntlet thing. It's almost like a mix between like Twisted Metal and Smash TV, kind of how it plays.
Oh,
it's just like you don't get what I mean by Twisted Metal is just because it's just like a tournament like that has like based in fantasy. And
right.
It's kind of like Battle Royale too, because it's like it's all being filmed. It's for like an internet like thing. It's like a bunch of rich people just got these guys and they're making them kill people, and then they get like a story as to why they're there.
Interesting. Never heard of it, but I can get the concept of it. That's actually kind of, that would be fun, I think. I haven't played Twisted Metal in years too. Wow, that's another name that I haven't heard in a while. Jeez, man, I think we're just getting old.
Yeah, I think that's the truth right
I
there.
think you sit there like, man, the Twisted. Yeah, I remember that. That was years ago. that reality check. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna be 28 in 3 days. 28 in 3 days. I'm getting there, man.
Yeah, I turned 30 on March 4th, and it was weird because like I never thought I'd get old, and like the day I turned 30, I was like, I'm old.
You're like, yeah, 30s in 5 years, and then 4 years later, like, wait, hold up, slow down. I wasn't ready for this.
It's like I still remember it like yesterday. My brother buying the first PS1 I ever played, and he got Battle Arena 2 Shinden 2, Resident Evil, and Cool Borders 2, and we played the hell out of those games. And it was really funny because like it's funny thinking today that like I know that when I get the next console, I can save my game. It's going to be a built-in feature. Kids today don't understand the struggle of having to keep your console on so you don't lose your save because you don't have a memory card.
Oh, those days, man. I know the struggle. We know the struggle, and it's sad. I feel like it builds character. It builds like this appreciation for a game, and just not having a memory card and having to keep it on and hoping your mom doesn't turn it off while you're taking a shower, and then come to find out she turned it off when you just finished playing 8 hours of Legend of Dragoon and you just finished this one and you have to do it all over again.
My mom did that to me on Onimusha for PS2, and I almost cried because I was like, I was almost at the end, and you thought it was a fire hazard.
Oh, Onimusha. It's such a good game, man. Such a good game. Oh, man. I think I'm going to get me the HD remastered on PC for that. Now that we're talking about it.
Dude, that HD remaster is really good.
Is it?
It plays just like the old one. They didn't really tinker too much with the controls. It's just as hardcore. They did not make that game easy.
Oh, good. That was its charm, was that it was hard. Like you sat there, you're like, I gotta go through what again? I gotta take this guy out? All right, let me just. Oh, why am I half health? He just hit me once. Ouch. And I'm dead. All right, I guess we do it all over again.
Did you ever do the gauntlet thing in that game where you have to keep going down the levels?
Yes.
Oh man, that is one of the most fulfilling moments when you actually beat that, and then you get the final sword at the end. You're like, I rule.
I am a god. I did everything for this. Oh man, I remember that. It took me, I think, 3 tries because the first time I was very liberal with my medicines and herbs. And I was like, yeah, we're good. And then you get down to the lower levels, and then you get those guys that kind of go underground and you can't really see them, but you can in a way, and then they kind of just plop up. You're like, ow. And then I redid my strats, and I think I died. I was on the very last stage of that. I died to one of the big boys. He swung at me twice, and I went to go block, and I went to go like stab him, and then he kind of just grabbed me, and then I was like, uh-oh, dead. And then the third try was hard.
Yeah, I'm a very stubborn offensive based player, so like defense to me is like that's like the last option. That's a game that like forced me to be like, okay,
yes,
gotta learn how to dodge.
How do you block? We're already end game. We're like, how do you block again? So I gotta counter. How do I counter attack when I see the flash? Oh, that's how you counter attack. I thought he just does that randomly.
So that's how I am with fighting games too. Is like I would rather build an offensive defense than sit there and hope that I can block some moves than open up an opening. It's like nope, going straight in, no blocking. Hope they don't figure out that's what I'm doing.
Press A, B, 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 and you're just like, why is he not taking damage? Why don't I don't have stamina? Uh-oh, and I'm dead. Oh. Oh man. I'm kind of the same way too. I'm just the button masher and I just dig and dig. Low kick, man. Those low kicks. That's where it's at. Low kicks win games, let me tell you.
It's like my background with fighting games, because like my fighting game will always be Street Fighter. That's why it hurts me so much that the net code was so bad in Street Fighter 5.
Right.
And I try to just apply the Street Fighter strategy to like everything I play. It's like I'm not going to take the time to read that document. I'll just keep brute forcing a combination on this.
I'll wing it. It's fine. Oh man. The fighting, I feel like the fighting era has changed, you know. It's much more technical now. It's really about, you know, it's more of a mental game now than actually, you know, button mashing or whatever. At least that's how I feel. Like you actually have to time your opponent's attacks, and you have to do this and find a strategy. And I'm just like, I just want to hit buttons and hit you. Why can't I do that?
I think with the expansion of the internet age is what changed that. Is that like people now know that like, oh, they're like, it's not just like when I hit the kick button, it has like they're gonna kick. It's like there's like 3 startup frames and there's the invincible frame and stuff. And like now that everyone has the ability to go and study stuff like that, it has become a more technical world in fighting games. And even now when you go back and play old stuff that you didn't even realize that was there, you know, and you have people that are like, well, I broke down the frame data on my frame meister on slow-mo and I know that this move doesn't work. And it's like, try to play up against someone like that, you're just going to get wrecked.
Yeah, that just advantages, I guess. You need every bit of advantage, especially when fighting games. But so do you have anything you want to promote? Any final words before I go ahead and let you go?
All I got to say is it's been a pleasure to be here.
Man, I do appreciate your time. I know you're busy, man. I know we had scheduled this for later in the day, but I mean, I grabbed you when I can, you know. But so how often do you stream?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. My computer did some weird stuff.
Oh no, I said how often do you stream?
I try to do 4 days a week. My schedule is always all over the place.
I mean, it's something, right? It's more than what I do. I'll tell you that. So roughly around 4 days a week. Do you have like a schedule that you go by, or you just kind of wing it?
I kind of just wing it. I like it used to be midnights on like throughout the weekdays, and then with work getting in the way, it ended up turning into then I was streaming at noon, and then so now I'm on like this 12 or 12 kind of deal where it's like you're either gonna catch me at noon or you're gonna catch me at midnight. Who knows?
Hey, tune in. You never know. You never know, right? But definitely go ahead and check out twitch.tv/re_loader. He's currently on a quest to beat every North American PSX title at the moment on game number 44, which is which one's this one?
Chef's Love Shack.
That whatever that is, he will be playing it. Make sure to go catch him live whenever you guys get a chance. Again, Loader, thanks so much for your time. I had a great time. Hopefully you and I can be on the team for Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 Episode 2, and we can fix things. All right, but again, thank you all for watching and hanging out with us today. That'll be it for today's episode. again, make sure to catch Loader at twitch.tv/re_loader. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. And as always, take care of yourselves.